Welcome, Rachel, to my channel. Rachel had messaged me because she was actually a babysitter for Cleo, which I interviewed a couple months back. And I thought her story was so powerful of being a Jehovah's Witness and leaving the organization. And I asked her, and she's such a vibrant person, if she could be on my channel. And here we are today. So thank you so much for coming on my channel, Rachel. So if you can just walk us back and give us your story from how the Jehovah's Witnesses came into your world and your family, and then where you are right now. And I will hand the mic over to you.
Okay. I ramble, so cut me off when I need to. I was born into it. My dad was an elder for a little while when I was younger. My
Rewind back. Your parents, were they also your parents' were they also Jehovah's Witnesses, or were your parents first generation? How did they get into the religion?
They were first generation, so some friends. I think they met them door to door or through friends, and then some friends studied with my parents. And my dad fought it hard, and there's stories of him staying up till 3 in the morning, fighting everything, pulling scriptures out. And I'm not exactly sure what the arguments were or what he was fighting for or against, but eventually they both got baptized. So I'm the youngest of five, and my oldest brother and sister, my oldest brother's 19 years, or he would be, he passed away, but he would be 19 years older than me. So they had experienced, the holidays and that kind of thing. And then it was kind of all just taken away. I think when they were probably about 8, somewhere around there. And so, years later, the other 3 kids came along, and we were raised in it. That was all we ever knew. Um, and unfortunately, from a little girl, I didn't want it. I didn't want to do it, and I didn't know why. I just wasn't comfortable. I never wanted to go. I fought. I had a stomach ache every time, or um, I was embarrassed if I would get a door on Saturday morning that was somebody from school. I would get so embarrassed, or having to leave the classroom when there was a birthday. I absolutely hated it all, and I vowed to never be one of those kids that is pressured into baptism at an early age. I had a lot of friends that were doing that, and then I would watch them get disfellowshipped and then never see their family again. And I didn't want to do that. So I didn't actually get disfellowshipped until I moved home from Texas years later. I mean, excuse me, baptized until I was, I think, 27 years old. It
Wow.
was after I moved home with my mom and my dad for about 2 years, and I tried it at that point in my life, and it still wasn't for me. Um, I have my oldest brother wasn't baptized, and he died when I was about 19. I have one brother who is currently an elder, another one who is in it, and then my sister is not in it, and she left as an adult, probably in her 30s, I would say, or 40s, somewhere in there.
At 27 years old, you got baptized. At that point, were you already, you said you left the house? Were you married? Did you have kids at that point? What was the situation like?
Well, I've lived quite the colorful life for being, only 40 right now, but I was married at a time. I got married at 19, not to a witness. He was kind of a half. His mom was raised and his dad wasn't. At the time, he wasn't a witness. I think he actually is now. And that just kind of didn't work out. We weren't right for each other. We were just young, and um, I worked for the airlines, and I moved. We live in northern Kentucky near Cincinnati, and I lived down in Lexington for a while, and then eventually moved to Texas and worked for Continental Airlines for quite a while. Went through some rough periods. It was my mom's first cancer bout. She's gone through a whole lot, and this was her first round. And it was right when Continental Airlines and United were merging, and so they were offering buyouts. And so I took a buyout and came home and lived with my parents for about 2 years when she was going through the first cancer. And that's when I actually put forth the effort. I really tried. I tried to read more. I tried to go out and service more. I tried to fit in more. I just have never fit in. And I did get baptized, although I feel like I never got my answers, or the questions answered that I was really going for. I just feel, I don't know, I feel unsatisfied with that, and I don't know why it happened. Um,
So question, at 27 years old, you were married to a half kind of a witness, going back to your story. And then you said your mom had cancer and you moved back home. Do you feel like you got baptized to win your mom's love and approval? Like, what was the mentality like getting baptized? What was the why behind it, if I can ask that? Because at 27 years old and you not wanting to be part of the religion and then kind of living this non-witness life, and at 27 deciding you wanted to get baptized, what was the reason behind that?
100%. I mean, it's always, parent approval, family approval. It's like they kind of dangle it like a carrot on a stick in front of you, to get that approval. And I'm learning later in life that's 100% what it was. I tried real hard. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be like them. And I'll even side note, when I was a little girl, I remember praying on a regular basis. Why couldn't I have just been born like them and just believe, just blindly believe? I mean, whether it's blindly or not, but I just never have felt like I fit in from the get-go, even as a small child. And then at 27, mom was going through cancer. I had been through some rough times in my life. I was leaving the airlines. I had already been divorced by that point. Um, and so I moved back home and lived with them for a little bit less than 2 years. And I really did. I wanted to make them happy. It's your family. It's, you want to, and more than anything, I want to fit in. I wanted to be accepted and fit in. I mean, I used to get uninvited to events as a teenager because my privileges weren't there, because my privileges were taken away. So as a 14-year-old, they would uninvite me to their event, even though the rest of my family would attend. It was hurtful, very hurtful. And
And at this point, you said your brother had also passed. Did he have cancer as well?
No, he did not. It's kind of a long story. We really don't know exactly what happened, but he was 38 and he had two children that were 7 and 12 that he had custody of, and he didn't wake up one morning.
Oh, and was he
Um,
was he a Jehovah's Witness?
he was not. He was not baptized. He actually was molested when he was 5, and by someone from the hall, and who lured him down into the basement with a train set. So I imagine that he might not have been the only one, unfortunately. He let me know this about 2 weeks before he died. And he forever had an alcohol abuse problem. He was a great person and a great
Wow.
dad. But that's why people turn to stuff like this to help with the pain, and um, yeah, it ate him up, and it ate him up. Another reason was because the guy passed away and he couldn't get any resolve out of it. He couldn't fix it. He couldn't confront him. He couldn't, any of that. And so he just forever had this guilt and, whatever it was that he felt. But yeah, he told me that about 2 weeks before he died.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's very heavy, but I think just having that freedom that you've just created right now, just saying the story out loud, is something that could be healing for you and for him as well as he passes on. And your mom, I can imagine that she is still holding on to this. So she was going through the cancer. You went back home and getting baptized in the religion. And what was it like for her? Because I know she's still alive today. So she was recovering at a decent rate.
Oh yeah, she's a lot of friends have talked about mom having 9 lives. She's been through many, many, many things, and she is one strong woman. She's been through the thyroid issue. She's had cancer that started in her colon and then eventually came back years later to her lung, moved to her lung. They think that some of the medicine that she was on, the chemo gave her leukemia, so she now has to be on a leukemia medicine every day to keep that under control. She's had strokes out the wazoo. She recently passed out and had to get taken to the hospital, hit her head. Her and dad have both been through it, and they raised my niece and my nephew after my brother died. They were 7 and 12. My parents have always taken in extra kids, maybe kids that got kicked out or kids that were a little bit of a troublemaker or, people that needed a place to stay. Um, my parents are good people. They're very good people. And, I can see why that they're drawn to this. I really can. And I am happy for them, honestly. I really am. I'm happy that they have that. I'm happy for anyone that has a comfort, of any sort that is, with decent intentions, Are there problems with it? Sure, just like everything else. But yeah, mom and dad they're still going along. When I lived at home, when I was 27 and I got baptized, my brother and his wife lived across the road for a while, and things weren't good. They've never really been good between us, and I don't really quite know why. Um, well, I know why. It's because I've never been one of them, and I'm always a step below because everyone I'm not a faker. I'm not a liar. You can see it on my face if I don't agree with something or, um, and I've just never been accepted because honestly, I've never been apart. I've never felt apart because, I've always been different. And I just felt like, why? If you think you're right, everyone can't be right. And that's okay. It's okay for you to think that, but it's also okay for me to think whatever it is I think. And it's a personal thing and we should respect each other for that 100%.
So you were back at home. Your brother was living across the street. Were you still
Yeah.
married to your first husband at this point?
Oh no, we were divorced. We were only married really. We were married 4 years, but only together 2.
Got
So
it.
we weren't together very long.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you were divorced, and then at what point did you move out of your parents' home and meet your second husband? And
Um,
and then tell us a little bit about like your because did you get disfellowship then when you met your second husband?
yeah, because we had a baby out of wedlock.
Okay.
Um, one of the elders actually in my meeting for, my pregnancy asked me if we just met up at a cheap hotel. I thought that was a little flabbergasting, and I just kind of don't want to have to be put in that position anymore, that uncomfortable position to answer questions like that, because that's not okay. Um, I'm sorry about the dogs in the background. Where were we? I forgot already.
No, we were talking about the elders calling you, telling you that you were at a cheap hotel getting pregnant.
Oh, pregnant. Yeah. So let's see. I moved back in with them when I was about 26 or 27, and I think 28 or 29. I had my first child at 30. So at 29, I got pregnant for the first time, and had to introduce him to my parents, and that wasn't super easy. Anthony's a great guy, and they've learned to love him very much, for him. But I did get disfellowshipped, and I was disfellowshipped for about a year, the first year of my first kid's life. I was disfellowshipped, and it was really, really hard. My mom and I would cry on the phone to each other and miss each other, and I just would, if these are God-given qualities that, if God's given us these qualities to cry and to hurt for one another, and why aren't we seeing each other? It's not right, and it doesn't feel right. If it feels like this, then something's not right. But I saw them, I think maybe about 3 times in that year, and I'm grateful for that. One was the birth of my child, um, and I'm back. I came back and I put a little bit more effort into it. Um, and then just to see things that I don't want to have my children around, and that's okay if I make that decision. But when I finally clarified that to my parents, who, they're still here, they're in their 80s or near there, then they told me that they were going to, excuse me, treat me like I'm disfellowshipped again, even though I'm not. Just for the simple fact that I am choosing not to go. I'm not trying to badmouth anything. I just want respect, for how, what I'm choosing, just like I respect what they choose. Go for it if that's what you want. We're just teaching our kids that there's a whole lot of different things, and that when you gather enough of your own knowledge, then you can make your own choice. It's a personal choice for a reason. Um, but so yeah, times are hard with them still. They've recently moved away, pretty far. We're in Kentucky and they moved to Colorado. And that took its toll on me. But honestly, unfortunately, in therapists and friends and family have told me this for a long time. It's just really hard to let them go, especially I was their caretaker for quite a while. But it's a whole lot. It's not as hard to grieve someone who's 2,000 miles away, is when they're just right across the street and, 5 minutes from your house.
Mm.
So I think it was kind of a healthy move. My brother and his wife are helping them because they have some medical issues. And um, things aren't better with the family, but things are better as far as, moving on and healing from things, because I don't know. Go ahead.
What
I'm going again.
I'm curious, what was it that made you stop going to the meetings and say like this is not for me anymore? At what point and how long ago was that? And were your kids going with you to the meeting? How was their transition?
So I went when I was pregnant with Jameson, my oldest, and then I went routinely for about a year or two after. Well, not, I'd missed quite a bit.
To get
Um,
reinstated, I'm assuming.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, to get reinstated.
So then you got
Uh,
reinstated.
and then I have brought all three of them a handful of times. I would still go to the memorial every now and then. Um, and then I just, honestly, and I know it doesn't have to be about the people, but you know, I, I had a surgery, in May, a couple months ago. I had brain surgery on my pituitary, and it really was life changing. I mean, it really was. I wasn't sure if I was going to wake up, or I had never been through anything like that before, and I had quit going quite a bit before this, but it just solidified it for me, that I want people in my life that care about me for me and who I am, and not the display of how many hours I get, and not, if I have a perfect attendance record at the meetings for the week, or not if I've looked up as many scriptures or raised my hand enough. This is me. I'm okay, and I'm a great person, and I have a really good friend base right now. And some of them don't even know what I believe. They don't even know, because we love each other for who we are, and we might not have got into that conversation yet, or maybe we will in the future, but it doesn't matter, because we love each other for who we are. And
So
so
you had a slow, steady exit out. It wasn't
yeah,
like a one
yeah.
thing. Okay. Slow and steady
Mm-mm.
exit out, and your kids are, I feel like they're pretty well rounded because you never really immerse them into the religion or any of the brainwashing. And
Um,
talk to us a little
Good.
bit. I'm so curious. Talk to us a little bit about your brain tumor, because I mean I feel I just voiced it honestly, that I feel like the brainwashing of the cult is the reason why it metastasized into. I always feel like trauma metastasized into illnesses, tumors, and that's what I feel like has been done for you. And I'm not sure what your mom's story is because she had cancer as well, but all the brainwashing that is in the organization that we had to take on. And you, at very young age, already rejecting, you were talking about having stomach issues and not, and knowing that it wasn't for you at such a young age, like constantly just, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be doing this, but you were put in the situation that you were doing all of those things. And your brain took all that on, and then the trauma
Yeah.
of all the things that have happened to you in adult years too, like feeling you still need to feel validated with your family, not fitting in. The second trauma of just getting baptized and realizing like I did this and it still doesn't feel right. And
Yeah.
then that eventually to leading up to where you are now. So talk to us a little bit about the first time you found out you had the brain tumor, and was that last year, this year? I think it was last year. And then talk to us about like what that meant for you and your family, and were you attending the meetings at this point, and did anyone in the congregation know about your tumor?
There have been, my aunt sent me a letter. I hadn't seen her in years, and she's a witness. My mom's sister. She has one sister that is a witness, and then the other three siblings are not. And then I think I received another card from another, about two. I think two people over the years have sent me
So
stuff.
how long ago did you find out that you had brain tumor, and what actually were the symptoms that made you go into the doctor to get an MRI?
It's it's actually a little crazy, and really the symptoms started after the birth of my daughter in 2014. Is when I first reported symptoms of like body pains and just things that were abnormal, and they've kind of all accumulated since then.
Mm.
Um, I have routinely gone to the doctor for different things over the years, and they've diagnosed quite a bit. One of the things that they get stuck on is, the depression and the anxiety and that kind of thing. And they just riddled me with anti-anxiety, anti-psych, antidepressant, with the promise of getting off, weaning off at some point. But I was on about year 3 of this, and I never wanted to be on them to begin with. But really, I felt I had no other choice. I was in a really dark place. Um, Literally almost wanted to go to a mental hospital a couple of times. And really, probably if I had had a babysitter, I probably would have at that point. Um, so, they only kept upping the depressants and the strengths and adding more and switching. I mean, I had a medicine cabinet full of different ones. I was a guinea pig. So who knows, how many of the side effects were actually from the medicines as well. But I had body pains constantly. I sweat abnormally. I would get out of the shower and be sweating, especially on one side more than the other. Um, I I was heavy. I couldn't lose weight. I was in pain constantly. The pain started real abruptly, the whole body pains after we worked on a fire pit in our yard over COVID. And then it just sent me to the doctor. I was on the couch for a week. I guess that sent something in motion as far as the body, because I get body pains, a lot. Um, it takes me months, months to heal from a bug bite, to heal from a bruise. There's so many, I'm very sensitive to the sun now in my eyes. When I was younger, I didn't want raccoon eyes. So, I would never wear sunglasses, and I can't go outside on a cloudy day without sunglasses these days. So many just strange, strange things, and I had no idea, and where it would lead. And I had begged and pleaded. I have been to therapist after therapist. I've tried EMDR therapy. I have, um, I've tried many things. I'm also in physical therapy for other aspects of, other issues with my body. Um,
We we
so long,
talked we talked about this a little bit. I'm just going to interrupt you for just a
yeah,
second before you get into your story. The book, When the Body Says No, like you
yes,
have reached this point in your life of just constantly people pleasing and living for other people, that you never actually checked within yourself, your intuition, your gut feelings of doing what was right for you, that your body's like, can you fucking stop it right now? Like,
Exactly.
hello,
Yeah.
I've been telling you not to do this, and now I'm just gonna riddle you with all of this
Yeah.
illness.
I believe it 100%. I have it in my cart. I need to order it. I forgot, but it's sitting in my cart and I'm going to read that book because I believe it 100%. I believe that's why my mother has been sick as well as much as she has, because they always, the doctors called her a healthy sick person,
Hmm.
because in appearance she doesn't seem, unhealthy, but she's all these underlying conditions.
Wow.
And she's been stressed. She's been a ball of stress her entire life.
Wow.
It's I was raised in a very, I love my family, but I was raised in a very stressful environment. Um, and I know it could always be worse. I'm not saying poor pitiful me. I'm just saying it does. It adds to your
Can
physical.
I just say that trauma is not meant to be compared, and we should never say that somebody else's trauma is worse than ours because we all have our own story. And just the fact that you are saying you always go back to I had good parents, I'm a loving blah blah blah, like you're trying to justify the fact that you are the way you are because of your family. Like, can we
Yeah.
just like let it be? Because
Yeah.
you are the way you are right now, and you just have to accept it. So you were talking about your symptoms at one point, and so lead us to 2014. This happened for several years, and then
Hmm.
you ended up going to the doctor. At what point were you told that you had a tumor?
So let's see what year we're 22. It was just 2021. I had been to so many doctors, I can't even list them all on here right now, trying to figure this stuff out. And my cousin and his wife, I stood on our patio crying to them over, I don't even know what, just life in general, just a bad day. It was just a hormonal type thing. And I might not normally talk to my cousin that way. I'm close with his wife, but maybe not as close with him to just sit and bawl into his arms, basically. And they were both there, and they told me about this wonderful endocrinologist that helped diagnose her disease and helped find something of one of his employees' wives. He found a tumor in her, and they said, get yourself a sleep study and get yourself to this endocrinologist. These all sound so similar to what she went through. Had no idea where it would lead. I had actually already seen an endocrinologist in his office, the same office, a year before, and they dismissed everything. They just make you out like you're crazy and like you belong in a mental ward. I mean, really. And so this doctor, and I'm going to write up a big letter on him at some point, but he listens. And I'm in his office crying about bug bites and weird things. Have no idea that it would make any sense to him whatsoever. And he pulls 15 vials of blood and runs as many tests as he can think, and with symptoms that I have explained to him, picks out what levels were off, over, under, and then puts it together like a puzzle as far as what it could be. And then we use the process, or he did the process of elimination. And sure enough, I had a pituitary tumor. And it's a hormone producing tumor, so it's Cushing's disease. And so I unfortunately have all the rest of the Cushing's disease. You can check off every box that's on there because I have every symptom. It even makes you feel like you can go to a mental hospital, and it can mimic bipolar. It can, and I honestly think once I'm to a better stage in my health, I think I'm gonna do something to help women or help people, because I really think all of our blood should be checked more than it is. And you know, people can be like, maybe someone's just low in a vitamin, or maybe their hormones are off. When I went for my surgery, they told me 1 in 4 people they estimate have a pituitary tumor, and they're walking
Mm.
around, and not everyone knows it because they're not all hormone producing. And so a lot of times, people get in a car accident and they'll have a head scan and they'll see it on the scan then, or it'll get so big that it'll rest on like an optic nerve. um, so I went through this surgery on May 5th, and they went through my nose, and they cut a big bone spur out, fixed a deviated septum. He, as the doctor called it, broke a bunch of bones in there. They didn't have to break this one, thankfully, but they went in the side of my nose and then drilled through my skull. and then gave room to the neurosurgeon, and the neurosurgeon cut out a third of my pituitary. They said it was a pencil eraser size of a tumor. Um, and I went into the surgery not 100%. It was about 99 because they never saw a definite tumor on the scan. It was a shaded area, but the pituitary is so small and so powerful that it affects everything in your body. Um, and so we did an invasive test before surgery, a couple weeks before surgery, where they send catheters through veins on either side of my groin and navigate them all the way up to my pituitary. It sounds like rocks crunching when it gets up in your ears. It's very strange, and I was awake for it. And then they pull blood at the same time from several different areas, and then give you a medicine and pull blood again. Long story short, that was the yes, that it was a tumor by the way that my blood reacted. And so we went in, and sure enough, there was one. Um, and I had a lot of help at the hospital. My sister came in. My sister lives, kind of far away, but she visits a couple times a year and really, loves our kids. And um, so she came in, and one of my best friends, Erica, and his cousin Joy, and my neighbor Sandra, and my cousin Bev, and so many of them helped. And these aren't people from one religion. These aren't people that care about exactly. I mean, they care what I believe, but they don't let it stop them from being my friend if they're different, because I know they do have
They
differences,
have
and
unconditional love and compassion for you.
exactly. Yeah. And it really spoke to me, Um, my husband's grandma, who's I think 82 maybe, her and her some of the aunts got together and baked a whole bunch of food and put it in the freezer. Big casseroles, breakfast casseroles, dinner casseroles. I mean, I was sad that my family, but my parents were older, and they can't get around much, so they couldn't be there, and I understand that. But it also taught me a lot, and it brought me to a really good place. And I think it brought me to the place where I finally was able to say to my parents, I mean, they know that I didn't want to be it, but I finally spoke it, and I have before, but they finally listened. And then unfortunately, that's why they said they'll treat me as a disfellowship person now, but I still do get to talk to them on the phone here and there. My mom just got out of the hospital, um, and she's back home at my brother's house. So I talked to her. It's the first time I've talked to her in quite a while. Um, but I'm I'm me, and I'm free, and I am good enough, and I have great kids. And, my husband and I are trying our hardest, and we mess up, but we're raising them. I don't know. I mean, do you call it open-minded? I don't know. We're just raising them to be kind humans. We're trying hard to be kind and to speak up and stand up for yourself, because who's going to advocate for us, if we don't advocate for ourselves? And that's really what I've learned. And unfortunately, that doesn't really fit the agenda for them, and I understand that. Um, but I'm happy. I mean, I am happy. I have good friends. I am battling something really hard, but I'm getting through it. My numbers are high now, so my tumor is back. We're trying a new medicine. And if that doesn't work, then we'll go to radiation. It'll be 192 rays at once. Um, and things get stressful, money, the bills. I can't even tell you what the bill is for all the surgery. I had my gallbladder out 2 months after my brain surgery, so it has wrecked my body. I think the cortisol for going high for too long in my body has kind of wrecked it. And so there's, I have spondylolisthesis on my back. I have chronic granulomatous of my lungs. There's quite a few things, but I um, I needed to quit drinking to help with the inflammation in my body, because my body was inflamed. And so I haven't had alcohol since February. I've been trying to walk. I've been trying to eat better. I mean, I've lost 100 pounds since I gave birth to Harvey. He's 6
Incredible.
now, but It's been 60 pounds since February
Wow.
this
Wow.
year.
That's
And
absolutely.
it's not even that I've tried, it's just the stress off, the inflammation going down, you know, and I'm just gonna keep doing what I can do to get it to get better, you know? I'll do whatever. I'll do whatever it takes to get better. And sometimes if that means separating ourselves from family, then I'm gonna do it because l- we deserve it. We do. And I want to live a happy life and teach my kids love and happiness and not to be scared every day. And, you know, I've really, really learned a lot through this experience and still am.
And the fact that you had so much love and support in this transition of being on your own and through the surgery. I mean, most people, when you're in the religion, they make you feel like no one is gonna like love you or treat you the same as the witnesses did, and it's complete opposite. Sure, they love and care for you when you're in the religion, but it's conditional love. And the moment you decide, like you did, I don't want to be
Yeah,
part of it, then it's completely ripped away from you. Do you even call those people your friends or your family? No.
exactly.
How much of that is even something that is pure, unconditional? And now you have all these people that are around you. You even talked about your husband's grandmother, which is unbelievable that a woman like that can show that much love and compassion for you and your family, especially during this hard time. So now that this tumor is back and you've never done radiation before, so this is going to be your first round of radiation, and that starts soon.
I've started this new medication. I think I have about 3 weeks to go on it. It's a hormone that's supposed to possibly shrink the tumor and stop the prolactin hormone from being made, which is being overproduced. Um, and we'll reevaluate in a couple of weeks. And if it's not working, according to my numbers, then I'll do what's called radiosurgery. And it's not actually a surgery. It's basically they tie my head down. It'll be very pinned down to where I can't move a muscle. It's an outpatient thing, and I'll be home. I do it in Lexington at University of Kentucky, and I'll be home that evening. And I will be put under, but it's 192 gamma rays at once on my pituitary. So the way he explained it is one ray could go through your eye, like it wouldn't harm it, but this is literally 192 at once to do the most powerful, and so it doesn't destroy the surrounding area because it's such a sensitive area. It's connected to my brain literally, and it's real near the optic nerve. So they have to be very careful. But with that, there does come there is some side effects that come with it, which I'm willing to tackle by all means. And this hopefully still is not cancer. Usually these are benign, but mine, and they do have a high rate of recurrence. But I just had my 3 month post op. I didn't really think it would be this soon and this bad. Um, so the radiation will, focus on just the pituitary and not other stuff. But then there is the possibility that I only have 2/3 of my pituitary left, so they could destroy it all, and then I would have to be on hormone replacements for the rest of my life. So I'm not looking forward to that, but there's a reason that it's growing in there, and it shouldn't be. And it, they would leave it alone, I think, if it wasn't causing problems. But since it creates ACTH, the hormone, the ACTH. Sorry, I get trouble talking. Um, which then tells the cortisol that comes from your adrenals on top of your kidneys. It tells that to go, and so the cortisol, which is the stress hormone, has been high in my body for years. Um, my doctor told me the way my body reacts, uh, the way my cortisol and the other hormones elevate. He said if I were to yell at you in this office right now, your body would react like you're in the middle of a war field. And I've been battling this for so many years, and they all just pushed it off. And thankfully, I found, a good human who listened and is listening and is active and trying, you know, um, He's very helpful. He's even my husband's now, he's a 6 month wait to get in. And once one person finds out about him, we all tell all of our friends, please go get checked. Go, if you have any issues, go get help because he will help you. And he is. He's already found possibly another pituitary tumor, 1 in 4, they think, in my husband's cousin, who's one of my best friends. And she's the one that initially used the word Cushing's disease to me in the first place. And I had never heard of it at that point, but she had looked into it for herself. I'm not
Wow.
sure hers is the same, but yeah, her numbers are really high and she's getting ready to get an MRI for that.
This is another reason why it's so important to listen to our gut feelings and our instincts so that we don't get to that point of the anxiety, the cortisol level. And cortisol, when your level is so high, it interferes with weight loss, with sleeping, with so much, like you can lose your hair. So much stuff can happen from high stress. And
Yeah.
people don't understand that you need to really take care of your body, your stress levels, your environment, and really just check in with yourself on a daily basis. And it's so important to then also recognize that you should not ignore all of those feelings, all of
Yeah.
the sensations in your body, because your body is literally talking to you.
Yes, it is 100%. And I mean, this was a hard way to learn, but like I said, I kind of want to like advocate or, like I want to help others in some form or fashion, whether it be that or some of the issues that I think we spoke about before, like a women's shelter or something like that. Or I don't know exactly what my calling is going to be, and I can't do every job. I can't because of my body. I can't sit all day. I can't stand all day. I have to change it up a little bit. So I'm not exactly sure where I'll land, but I've kind of got to get some of these health stuff out of the way, and then I'm gonna, go back to work again because our youngest is in school now. So
I, I
I'm, I'm
think I think one of your purpose is to be an advocate of allowing yourself to actually talk about the emotions that you have coming up and not pushing them away, and not like trying to be such a people pleaser going on with your life and ignoring your gut feelings and your
yeah,
intuition. Because like I said earlier, it all led up to where you are now, and you're doing
yeah,
such a good job facing the things that you're having to face. And I know that you said it could be this and it could be that, but you're just reminding yourself, I'm here right now. Those things haven't happened to me, and just being present with what you have right now is so important to your recovery, because you don't want to bring on anything that hasn't happened to you yet either. So just
exactly. Yeah.
just being present with what is really really beautiful. And now here you are. When was the last time you went to the meeting? It was this year, correct?
Oh goodness, no.
Was it last year when you got
Before COVID.
diagnosed?
It was before COVID.
Okay,
So
amazing.
yeah, it's been, and I won't.
Okay,
I think
great.
I went to a funeral once,
Hmm.
but then that's it. Yeah, I honestly, I had to step in and ask my dad to stop talking to my children about it. That and politics. I mean, who would have thought? But I know that they're not supposed to talk about politics, but he kind of tends to. Um, and I had to ask him, like, please, it confuses my children. It doesn't make sense to them, some of the things that they say. And then we're really open and we communicate. And I don't just bash, any religion that I don't understand or that I don't agree with. We're pretty open with our kids and say some people believe this, some people believe this, some people think this, and some people think this. And we're not really sure what it looks like, but you're free to believe what you want. That's the benefit. Like, that's the wonderful thing about us. And we're going to raise them that way, and I'm not going to say it's better, but I'm going to try to break a few generational cycles here, um,
It,
we have
it
pretty good kids.
it's free will, which we were told we had as witnesses, but it was a bunch of bullshit. Like
Exactly. Exactly. There is no free
now
will.
we know what free will is, and it's just
Yes.
the lies that we were told in the organization. We love you, we care for you, you have free will. This is not a cult. It's like, oh, you just said that to us so we would believe you, but those were all lies as well. Got it. So
Yeah.
now you're completely out. You're living your life with your kids. You have this supportive husband, and your parents I know just moved a couple of states away. And I just want to say at the very end now, because I want to wrap up this
Sure.
interview, is there anything you want to add to say that we haven't covered in this interview? Any kind of either anything you missed or anything you want to add? Totally up to you.
Um, my nose is running, so sorry if you can
Totally
see that.
fine.
But it's not bad in the world, the world. And I always hated that terminology, because I felt it was demeaning to other people. Like we look down on other people because they weren't part of the religion, or and I've learned as I'm older that it is demeaning, and it isn't all drugs and addictions and rape and alcohol. It isn't all that. It's wonderful just being myself. I mean, 100% myself. It's amazing. It really is. And not to be judged. And I am learning, and have learned, like, that I really am. I am enough. Like, I am enough. And, I don't need everyone's approval, just people that matter, like my children.
You're giving me goosebumps as you say that, because I think that is one of the biggest things that people that are ex-witnesses face, is this feeling, I am not enough, I will never be enough, because that is kind of the mentality that we were taught in the religion. And the fact that you have come to this place of just feeling like you are enough outside of the religion is such a beautiful, beautiful ending. And to know that there is that opportunity to reach that place after you leave the organization is huge. So everyone can reach where Rachel is right now. That opportunity is there for you. It's waiting. It's not difficult. It's a choice to feel that way. And I know we had talked about this in our last call right now, but holding on to that anger and that resentment, it's part of the breaking away of the religion.
Yeah.
But most people get stuck in that. And you've chosen
It's
not to be
hard.
there anymore. It is hard. It is hard because you feel like I have the right to be angry, to be the victim, blah, blah, blah. But you're like, you know what? I mean, I personally feel that your tumor is because of the religion, but you know what? It is what it is.
Yeah.
The fact that you're here right now, you're still living, you're a great human being, you're breathing, you still have complete capacity of your body. I mean, you're doing great. I'm just like, you're a miracle. You're a
Thank
fucking
you.
miracle. And I just want to like applaud your genuineness, your compassion to your parents and where they are. Is just a beautiful story. So thank you again, Rachel, for sharing your story. And I am going to hit end. Thank you for watching
Thank
this
you.
interview.